Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today, I'm joined by, I'm just going to say the first name, Lucas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Happy being here. Thank you.
I didn't want to make the mistake of taking your surname wrong, but tell me your full name once again for about 50th time.
All right. So once again, it would be Lucas Martín Calderón.
There we go. What a name. I love it. Listen, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really keen to figure out what you're doing, what you're about, what your business is, and we can have a really great chat and see what we can come up with. So first and foremost, tell me about your business, what it is, what you guys do over there, and how you help others.
All right. So my business is called Oxyde Technologies. I started that company when I was in my first year of university. The service we provide is been making sure that, nowadays companies have strong firewalls, they have antivirus and so on. However, normally the weakest link, according to statistics, according to in practical terms, is the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always the weakest link. It's what's called social engineering in the cybersecurity field. So what we make sure is depending on the package you choose, we are able to penetrate during a week. That person, we give the employer gives minimal information such as email, maybe some contact info.
Yeah.
And from that info, we're able to see what that person, through spam email, through brute force attacks, several techniques, to see where that person failed. After that, we generate a comprehensive report, and we have created a virtual training environment upon that report. So they're able to very easy, very intuitively to learn from their mistakes. So it couldn't be more personalized.
Nice one. So what was going on in your world at the first year of uni that you thought, hey, I've got to create this business that's going to fix this problem that I'm seeing? Like, surely first year of uni, the majority of people are just going out every single night, doing the typical student life thing. But you are like, nope, I'm going to start a cybersecurity business, and this is what we're going to do.
Well, I'm happy you asked that, Steven. My story is quite different from other people. So obviously my mindset will be different. When I joined university, I had already experienced how university life was back in Spain, where I'm from. I joined a university that went against my principles. I was studying mechatronics. So electronics, computer science, mechanics, and so on. And the university in itself, the theory was good, but the philosophy behind it, the way of, I feel I was the only true engineer in that room.
Wow.
In the classes and so on. So that feeling of wanting to create something, to apply the knowledge that I was given, that I was taught to create something to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
I honestly felt alone in that journey. I didn't feel any professors support I tried to start several companies, and I did, but they failed because how the university was structured, how much help can a student get, which it doesn't compare nearly to what I get here in Exeter, in the UK educational system.
Wow.
So yes, after doing some introspection, I realized that maybe the philosophy in Spain wasn't the right one for me. And then I decided to do even a harder degree, a joint honors, so electronics and computer science. So starting from that, I already had a different vision from other people. So and the good thing about the UK is that, or at least in Exeter, is that it is very international. You find people all different ages in your same degree, in your same year too. So it was quite easy to find more ambitious and talented people around me, especially once I joined the Exeter Entrepreneur Society, where kind of like-minded people gathered together and tried to create something new, or at least, expand their network.
How did that feel though, when you started moving into the environment where you thought, well, actually people do think like me, we do have similar mindset, as opposed to back in Spain when you, like you said, you felt super alone, that you were the only one in the room that was, wanting to do stuff by the sounds of it.
Absolutely. So it was a surprise to me, honestly. And I did learn quite a lot of things. The first feeling you get is try to do as much as possible, reach as many people as possible, meet as many people as possible. So actually, the hardest thing was to keep it healthy, to keep it normal, because entrepreneurship is all about being out there in the world and making your own path, correct? So I was doing literally that, trying to meet people, trying to see what's going on, to see the environment in order to create something useful. So actually my feeling was, okay, Lucas, you have to control yourself step by step.
Yeah. And when you were going through those sort of thought processes, is that because you saw everyone else actually have those boundaries, and you probably realized that, listen, if I carry on trying to do everything, that you're just going to burn out as a student as well?
Yes. So I actually had many friends telling me, Lucas, it's better if you stopped a tiny bit, just relax a bit, because otherwise you will burn out. Yeah. So it's actually advice that I was given all the time. I never burned out. However, it is such interest. It is extremely interesting, and this is why it's very hard to try to keep it normal, because there is nothing normal about all of this. In Exeter, the variety of people that you meet, even at university, if you're curious enough to go beyond your degree, which is something that at least I hope it goes beyond Exeter. Yeah. I prefer to believe it's the UK educational system, at least in universities. So they do allow that. If it doesn't mean that everyone is the same, however, if you want to keep it, to keep it low, if you want just to do your degree to keep it easy, it's okay. You will be able to. However, if you want to take it 1,000 steps further, there will be fights. But however, people will support you eventually if they see some value in what you're bringing.
Of course. So where do you want this to go? Because, started in your first year of uni. Is there a temptation for you to just go, I'm going to sack off uni and I'm going to put all my eggs in this one basket and I'm going to go for it?
Well, I have to be honest, that feeling has crossed my mind more than once. However, I do love what I do at university, and so far university has been going great in all levels of academically, professionally, socially. So yeah, definitely, even though that feeling has crossed my mind, there are certain things that keep me together while doing uni. The first one, I would say, unfortunately, I've been traveling around. I've been a freelancer for a bit, doing software engineering, web dev, app development, and so on, in the good old days. So yes, that kind of got me a vision of university is not important. A degree doesn't mean anything for me. And even though I agree with that, I've realized that for other companies it does.
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons why I keep at university, because unfortunately, as entrepreneurial some parts of the world are, still a certificate brings you, that it's all in the subconscious when you talk to someone else, right? And I realized that. After that, the degree that I do is extremely broad. I do from, as I said, electronics and computer science, which means that I'm able to learn every single small bit in a chip, how it moves, how it's stored in a simple register, up to high level abstract programming. So I take it as a unique opportunity to at least kind of see an overview of the whole field. And at university, you will not become a master of anything, but at least I take it to have that, that horizontal T-shape.
Yeah, exactly. So how are you managing this? How do you balance it? And second part to that question is, from that managing, who do you decide to work with in terms of in the business?
Good. That's Good questions again. The time management is a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing. I've only read one book in my life of time management. I've realized that it's such a personal thing.
Massively,
Reading books is not really the way to go. Everything that I've learned is everything good that I do now is because I've done something bad. Everything. I've messed up many times in my life.
A true entrepreneur.
Wanting to do way more than the time available. So actually, that has been my biggest learning experience. Yes, for time management.
And in sense of that, then you've obviously found that balance in terms of time spending growing the business, time spending finishing your degree. In terms of the business side, talk to me how you structure that, and how you're getting this, how you're building the business, and how you're getting yourself out there, how you're getting clients, and the sorts of people you're working with at the moment.
Amazing. So I would say the biggest problem for that is communications, because I am the only undergraduate as of now in Oxyde Technologies in the founding team. The other ones are already in London, are already working on the MVP, on the first clients. So how do I keep up with that, right? How do I keep up with people working full time in that idea? And also that was, again, through bad experiences, I've come to learn the way to do it. As a group, actually, they're very supportive. So what we do, for example, is every single day at 9:30, we have some kind of like agile meeting over a phone call. But it's not even agile. It lasts for less than 10 minutes. It's what we're gonna do in the day, some fears that we have, some objectives that we want to obtain, and how we can help other people in the company. I mean, we are only 4, so it's quite easy to organize that call. So it all starts with that call. Then at university, I actually take advantage of my situation at university. I wouldn't say it's something that sets me back. I've got a pool of professors, of PhD students that I wouldn't get that many people otherwise in such a closed environment.
Very true.
So yes, I am actually very close to an electronics PhD student. I've been learning a great deal from that guy, Joaquin, he's called. I definitely appreciate everything that he's done, and the people here, once they find value in what you say, they're very keen on helping you. So that's another thing I take to my advantage. And then we have, because I do software engineering within Oxyde, it is software engineering is more flexible. It's not about clients. It's not about following up with clients, even though I do a bit of it. I normally just coordinate and see the vision of technology in the company with the other co-founder of the company.
Amazing. For you, there's a huge emphasis on the environment that you're in, obviously. Do you think you would, if you were not in this environment, if you weren't in that entrepreneurial spirit, the resources that you can tap into, and you still wanted to grow this business, how do you think you would do that?
All right. It's true that the environment is one of the most valuable assets that I have. If I wasn't at uni, I'm very sure I would find something else. For example, I used to live in Berlin for a bit. I was learning the language. Something very important for an entrepreneur is to get an external perspective of how things are in other countries. So while I was living there, I found out that Berlin is probably one of the most entrepreneurial cities in Germany. There were plenty of co-working spaces, plenty of other different-minded people. So that was my environment. I took advantage of the entrepreneurial spirit and of the fact that the people thought very differently to what I did. And that was actually unique. I cannot find the same thing here. So to every single place that I go to, it is always that exploring. That this is why before when I said, Lucas, control yourself in exploring. Don't explore too much in too little time.
You get lost in exploring.
Yes. So it's really to pinpoint what is different about that place. that I would like to, to get a perspective on, that I would like to get a thought on. So yes, I don't think the university environment, it will not make me succeed. It will not make me fail. It is the mindset that I have to whichever environment that I'm in.
Amazing. Love it. Let's just talk about cybersecurity for a brief moment as well, because we would be doing a disservice if we didn't. It's an industry that has exploded in the last couple of years, massively in terms of in the public eye. My brother actually is in the field himself.
All right, nice.
So, for you, what's in the term of the field of cybersecurity? Do you find that there's common myths that you're having to overcome when you speak about just online security and making people, making sure that businesses are safe in a sense?
Absolutely. And my worst enemies is Hollywood, the Hollywood movies, actually. People think of hacking
What's
as
the worst
something...
Hollywood movie that you can think of that doesn't?
I mean, I personally enjoy them too. Most of them. I mean, there are cases in which I've started to become nervous about how it's represented, but otherwise, I do enjoy the kind of the fake environment. The difference is that I do know that it's fake. That is the only difference that sets that apart. So to start with the cybersecurity field, it's one of the fastest growing, well, I wouldn't say fastest, but it will grow, definitely. It doesn't, a lot of software engineers, a lot of technologists debating, is machine learning the future? Is deep learning the future? Maybe it's robotics, and maybe it's all of them, the reason is we cannot predict 100% the future, correct?
Yeah, of course.
However, one thing we can have for certain, technology is going to advance. Technology will become more prominent, more complex, and so on. Which means that cybersecurity will always be a thing. It doesn't matter where technology evolves, in which direction. Cybersecurity will always be behind every single technology that evolves. Right? It is like speaking of recycling and trash. If you have a really good business in trash, well, society is gonna create more and more. So there you go. Yes. And so yes, in terms of the myths, demystifying a lot of things, people do think only of hacking as an illegal activity, as something an unknown person would do with his hoodie on, totally asocial and so on. They don't realize how
the interview. You should have had your hood on. It should have been like blacked out face. We couldn't see who you are.
Absolutely. Yes.
To really play
absolutely. Routing this connection through 100 different servers around the world. Well, which could be necessary at some point if you're doing some testing. But the thing that I'm demystifying the most is how social cybersecurity is, especially in my field, right? In Oxyde Technologies, we do what's called social engineering. We know how hardware and software works, and we know how to exploit that with people, how to exploit people in order to find those vulnerabilities in the software. So it is explaining how social working in cybersecurity is actually.
Amazing. So one of my final questions, Lucas, is when you graduate, what's next? Where do you want to take this business?
It's such a good question that I don't know 100% the answer to.
It's a big question.
We created this business with the objective of selling it in the short future.
Okay.
That is the strategy we set up to do from the beginning. I'm not afraid of selling it. I'm not afraid of even failing to sell it. Is as the main priority that I have at the moment is to learn. Learning. Fantastic. Whether it fails or whether it succeeds, of course I will give, and I do give all my time, all my effort, my reputation, and so on for Oxyde. However, the next steps are I've had very good mentors around throughout university, the first year, the second year, and Actually, this one of my mentors called Steven.
Great
He's
name. Great name.
he's amazing as to guide me through this time of uncertainty, of opportunities, and so on. They've recommended me sometimes, a few of my mentors, go to a big company and big technology company and wanted to make a change or create my own startup. Thoughts are very different. What I really want to do is to use, as I said, it reflects from the first year that I started university back in Spain. Yeah. What I want to create is something impactful, social and technological wise. Entrepreneurship is a way of doing this. You can be very entrepreneurial in a big company too. I would love to, of course, my dream is to become a successful entrepreneur one day, being able to provide more value in places like the USA, Europe, and so on. So it's to be seen. Actually, I've got one personal motto that all my friends know about, and is I don't know what lies ahead of me, but let me assure you, it won't be boring. So I guess I'll have to stick with that answer for that question that you asked.
That's a pretty damn good answer, mate. That's a pretty damn good answer. Listen, Lucas, my final question to you is, if you could give 3 tips to fellow entrepreneurs that from your experience, what would those 3 tips be? Like the top tips that's going to help them get through whatever they're going through.
All right. The main tip would be the ability to problem solve. I cannot stress enough how a good problem solving mentality is I have problems even before I wake up from the previous state, from overnight. Having the right mindset. So it's something, for example, it's something Steve Jobs said. Once you found your passion, right, it only grows bigger. Yeah. When there is a lot of friction, then you say, all right, too many problems today. Let's see tomorrow. Too many problems. That is when you start to create friction. When you start to hurt yourself. So make sure you obtain the right problem-solving mentality. That is definitely the first tip I would give. The second one is choose the right team. Once I meet successful entrepreneurs, actually the first thing that I realize is they're able to see miles away through bullshit. They're absolutely able to see that. They're able to see how business people work, how engineers work. They see transparency all the way. So developing that, and of course, I'm trying to develop that. For example, this is one of the biggest things that I've grown this year, I would say. Yeah. And I actually think learning comes from a tiny bit of suffering, a tiny bit of messing up, and learning from your mistakes, which would be actually my third advice. Be humble enough to learn from your mistakes, because I cannot imagine an entrepreneur who is not humble. Entrepreneurship, as I said, is being out there. The image that I have in my head of entrepreneurship, one of them is being alone in a jungle with kind of that knife that that cuts through plants and making your own path. It is true, there is a team to support you. There is friends, there is family. Entrepreneurship is social, so you're not alone in a jungle. But all the plants are all the problems. You're just there alone. If you go in the wrong direction, you might get bitten by something else. And you have to follow your gut. So I would say, yes, be humble enough to know that there is a lot to learn. And the best thing about entrepreneurship is the attitude of other entrepreneurs when they decide to help you and when you help them out. So make sure you're humble and you create that community around.
Spot on, Lucas. Thank you so much for that. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, speak to you directly, figure out more about what you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
It would be, I'm quite active. I'm always active on LinkedIn. That would be a good platform. My name, my username is Lucas Martín Calderón in LinkedIn. So I'll be very happy to help out or to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Fantastic. Lucas, thank you so much for coming on Founders 365. You are
thank you very much.
Very smart man, and I'm sure that you're going to be doing some very cool stuff in the very near future. Thank you so much for coming on. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. This has been Founders 365 for me, Steven Haggerty.
Thank you very much.